So what we've been talking about here in the last 5 labs was different ways to actually attack the data plane. We've seen the basic NIC, the custom tunnel, which are purely done in P4. And you will recall that that's the high-level language, domain-specific language, parsing, matching, action, that style of programming, automated placement on our cores or micro-engines. You don't really need to worry about where your data structures are placed in memory either. You just say what you want to happen, and that intent gets executed. Then after lunch, we went to the seaside. We went to play in the sandbox, and then we went into the ocean itself and played entirely in the sea. We also had the integrated development environment and the GUI aficionados catered for, as well as the command line fundis that don't like clicking but prefer typing. So all these different ways are ways of programming the data path and really saying a day in the life of a packet, what should happen. What we didn't spend a lot of time on, though, is a day in the life of a table entry or a day in the life of statistics or events. And we only touched on that briefly in this runtime interface part, where we edited the rules in the table editor. So in a practical deployment of these things, you would get the data plane created in these various ways. I think the jury is still out on whether P4 programs are just going to be a nice way for equipment vendors to go and program the data path, and actually carriers will buy already programmed boxes to meet their requirements, or whether operators will want to write their own programs. Will they write them in P4? Will they write them in C? Or will they prefer something like OVS, which gives them some flexibility via OpenFlow, but not necessarily full flexibility? But if we have this, the data path, whatever method we use to create it, this runtime interface won't in practice be people banging on keyboards to create flow entries. This is going to be, as the diagram indicates, some form of API. The P4 community is talking about a remote procedure call API like Apache Thrift maybe. Others are proposing OpenFlow and extending OpenFlow for customizable protocols, for customizable table structures, and really having OpenFlow, let's say 2.x, 3.x interface to the P4 data plane. So this part of the picture, the control and management plane, does need to be solved. We do need to still interface to SDN controllers, cloud management systems, etc. We just didn't cover a lot of that. So to summarize, we did a lot of work here on the actual programming of the intelligent NIC, using P4, using the P4 plus C or C alone. In future, you will be able to have a sandbox also run in the Linux network offload driver and use OVS to do your match action processing and just deliver the packets to this snippet of C code or P4 code for that matter, because you could have C or P4 embedded in OVS, embedded in control, for example, to do your customized processing. And if actually what you want is already covered by OpenFlow and OVS, that is also available to you. And in that case, you just install the network offload driver and use command line tools or OpenFlow, whatever your preference is, to populate these match tables. So with that, I think we're going to close the section that's related to the labs, and we'll proceed with the next agenda items. So any closing comments or questions about the labs, any feedback? We really went high and low level, so I know it's been sometimes hard to keep up, but please, over to you for feedback. Okay, I'll take that everybody's either very happy or so unhappy that they'll talk to me later, or just in need of Java instead of C again. So thank you.
So the last session is entirely about universities. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for giving us your time. Pretty excited. And I want to spend about 10 minutes talking to you about hopefully the general intent of this conference was to be a first step in working with universities and research communities. I'd like to walk you through some of the things that the company Netronome will do to help on research. And so the first big thing is really the basic problem we're trying to hit with this is how do we get people doing research get going faster in terms of making it easy to assemble a system, do research on it, assemble a stack, put a NIC card in a server, get a working stack, get everything working as quickly as possible, and really so that you can put your research energy, your research time into the portion that interests you. You don't have to spend 3 to 6 months of your time assembling a working system. Hopefully we can give you instructions where you can assemble a working system fairly easily. And if you're still awake after the punishment you've taken, I congratulate you. So, all right. So Netronome support for university activity. We will have a portal that serves as a coordinated mechanism by which you can access central place where you can access all the information you need. My colleague will come on stage in a few minutes and walk you through what that resource will look like. Second thing we'd like to do is give you some known reference systems that work, so that we say, here's a server, here's a NIC card, here's an interface, here's a software load that we know works with it, so you can get going really quickly. They will walk, hopefully, not all at one time, but as time progresses, there'll be a lot of software that we give you on for different things you can do with the flow processor. NFP firmware, tools to write code, the wonderful tools you saw this morning, and host software to work at it. So you should be able to work with the flow processor. If you want to simply use it through the APIs and firmware that exists, you should be able to, let's say you want to do research in OVS, you should be able to do it that way. If you want to write if you'd like to write new code, we should be able to support you that way too. So hopefully once we get all organized, you will be able to write and use this platform for research in a variety of ways. And the other idea that bubbled up through the company that I'm pretty excited about is hopefully at some point in the near future, we'll have a standing lab available with reference systems. And the idea here is that you should be able to go take whatever code you have, make it work on the reference system. Perhaps we can even tell you how to test it efficiently, so that you can then, before you check your code into the repository, you put it through some basic test and validation, so that it's more likely that other people will use your code. So one of the things that I think universities like is to see other people using their work product. So hopefully if you write code and you go through some basic hygiene and sanitation, you can use a standing lab to test your code and check it in. So really the entire focus of what this company is doing is designed to make it easy for you to get started by giving you a lot of code and make reuse easier, so that your work output can be used by other people. All right? I think the natural first question virtually everybody had is, when can I get a card? Soon in the near future. I think one of the things we're trying to figure out is also make sure that the card you're able to use it once you get it. That it's more that you have the infrastructure, that you have what you need around the card to get going, and that we can work with you. And software, and the software release roadmap we'll keep announcing. The company will keep announcing new items to be released on Open-NFP, the website. So that going to that website should give you a clear sense of what's available and what's not. And some of the content may only be available with restricted access for academics, and we'll ask you to contact us directly. The kind of most of it there will be a repo attached to the site, which will maintain where we'll deposit the code. As I said, really we will have firmware, tools, and host software, tools for development, and hopefully I think eventually we'll also tell you how to test what you've written, so that really if you can test what you've written and you can make it work, our hope is that I can promote reuse. We'll have NFP firmware. Today we'll have, at some point when I say today, at some point in the near future, a loose definition of today. OVS on a chip that you can use with an API. Open source, both P4 and C code. And really what we'd really like to do is have you focus on the packet processing part, to do innovative things with packets. So hopefully you leave the infrastructure inside the chip to the professionals in the room, and you can do because I'm assuming most of you aren't interested in that in terms of managing the memory in the chip and managing packet buffers, et cetera, but that you want to either do new protocols, new encapsulation, quality of service, whatever it is, that can be done outside this infrastructure code. And ideally what we'd like to do is hope that you will contribute to the repository, and you will reuse code from people other than Netronome as well in the repository. That's all of this we're hoping to do in the next few months, I'd say, as this conference is the first step, and please expect to hear from us. What would really help a lot is when you're talking about your research, if you can share in the next session at 5 o'clock, if you can share how you plan to use you're not committed to it, just your first order thoughts. It helps organize Netronome's thoughts on what kind of software is important to the research community and the order in which content should be released, because there is work involved in releasing each of these things. So in the session from 5 to 6, when you come up, if you could spend a few minutes telling us this is what we'd like, that would make a big difference. Okay, and Sundar, you coming up? Thank you.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Well, am I the last one to go? Oh, we have Sakir. Good. Okay. After Bapi's presentation, it's going to be a real hard act to follow. Okay, all the enthusiasm, everything, Bapi, really appreciate it. I am Senior Director of Product Management for Netronome, and I handle most of the silicon products here. And what I am going to be covering is the Open-NFP.org site that we have created. Okay, this is something that is going to be available for you in a week's time. It's a pretty exciting initiative. And the goal here is to really create a web portal that basically encourages collaboration. Okay, it's also, we have all the infrastructure. We try to capture all the infrastructure so that it accelerates all the research activities that you would like to conduct. So Bapi covered a lot of this, but I will just try to go through this quickly here. So you will have, so right off the bat, you'll have all the elements of research identified. You can go pick it up, pick and choose, and start building your programs. Okay. So you'll have platforms, standard servers, our intelligent server adapters. Today we have one of them available. There are a couple of them that are going to be coming soon. You can select, you can ask, you can request for some of those cards, and it will be provided to you. There are also all the labs, materials, everything is available on this site now. The tools also will be available. It's all you have to do is click a button, send a request to us, and we'll deliver it to you. Okay, everything that was discussed here today is all going to be uploaded in the next couple of days. Okay, so with that, let me try to access the site. Perfect. This is how the site is going to look. And if you see this, this is not any marketing kind of a site. It's going to be very bare bones. Basically, trying to get you guys to just get what you want immediately. Okay, very simple site, and with all the material available. Okay. So I'll just browse through some of the elements here. So right off the bat, you'll see platforms. We have a card available now. We have 2 more coming. These cards are available with us at this point of time, but they have not been announced yet. And that's why we are not promoting it. Okay, but these are all the examples that you ran today are ran on this card. The software and library section, again on request, you will get all these software available. You get when you register, you should be able to get access to material here. Okay, same thing with tutorials. You went through 5 labs today. All of this material will be available within a week's time. Okay, and same thing with tools. So you did binary, micro C programming, and some amount of P4. When you click this button, when you request for this tools, it'll be available to you. Okay. Next, what I encourage you to do is in a week's time. It's not ready yet. Is to provide your ideas. Submit your projects, and as you submit it, it will come to all the people that are here. Netronome resources. They will have visibility into it, and they'll be able to help you out through the process. Okay, at least to get the thing started. I guess that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I encourage all of you to register, okay, as quickly as possible. We have email addresses of all you guys. Within the next week, we'll send you an email with the site address and everything. And once you get that, I encourage you to register, okay? And try to provide details of your project, so the resources that you met today, all the guys like Johann, Gavin, all these folks will have visibility into your description, and they can provide you some guidance on how to go forward. Okay, next week, you should be able to access the site. That's it. Any questions? Cool. Thank you.